Internet, how are we doing today? Truly, 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 how are you doing today? I want to give you that space and I want to give you that validation while you sit and ask yourself, how are you doing? So, I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about what's going on in my life. Um, I have had an instance with a friend that has hurt the soul a little bit and has made me really reflect, has really rippled and made me reflect in a lot of my other friendships. I was told that I realized that one of my friends had some resentment against me. Um, and that was hard to hear, to say the least. Me and this friend lived on different continents. They moved because of the work that they were doing, and we could only correspond via email. And so it was hard to talk. And they basically, I talked to them for the first time a couple weeks ago after basically almost 2 years, like a year and 8 months of not talking on the phone. And they shared this with me. And this was really hard to hear. I was like, what the fuck? And it just has made me really insecure and has made me really evaluate my friendships. And like almost talking about it dissociates me a little bit because it I think there is some anger, which is valid, but also if my friend didn't feel supported from me, like I want to take on that responsibility, like I want to take on that accountability, because I also think where this brings me is like I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a giver. How could I do this? Oh my God, like you lived with me when you needed somewhere to stay. I took you in, my family's taking you in, like I've done all these things, but yet you still feel this way towards me. And that was a lot. And I think too, coming off right off the bat and just saying these things, I think, it made me realize like you can do so much for somebody and they can still not receive it. And even I think even I needed to hear that in my friendships too, and for myself. And I know that I really take how I function in my relationships very seriously. And I never want one of my friends to feel that way. And I think what's also so hard about this situation is that there was a build for so long. Like there wasn't an opportunity to hash it out. And that's really difficult for me to handle. Like I am a fixer. I want to handle it. I want to figure it out. Like when it comes to copping up to something, I want to do it. Like I don't take it as an ego. I don't take it as like oh, I'm a bad person. Like I never want somebody feel that way, or feel uncomfortable, and I want to fix it. And so I think that was also like kind of just like the hard part of this whole situation because I didn't really get that opportunity. And life goes on, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, I'm going to let you know, like we'll deal with this when we can, and that's just really disappointing because I wouldn't want, if I felt that way, I wouldn't have handled it that way, but it's like, they are not my feelings. Like, what can I do? And at the end of the day, like, I get it, like time grows people apart and like emailing is hard. And so it's like, I get it. Like, I think it's valid. And I want to take ownership to that, but I think the reason why I'm talking about it today is that like it's just the realization of like no matter what you do, like if somebody doesn't receive it, I don't want to say like if somebody doesn't receive it, like that's on you, you know? Just to the sense of like, I'm definitely, I think, a believer in like, you know, you have to like meet your friends where they're at, and like, that's something that I've been really learning and figuring out for myself too, of like, what does that even mean for me? And I think this situation is really interesting because I almost feel like I was in my friend's seat a couple months ago with another friend of mine. And so, dealing with kind of this idea of like, how do I feel? How does affection feel received to me? And like, what does that mean? And like, I need you to show up for me, but how much of that do I need to accept, And so I think in my fight with my friend currently, it's made me really insecure. I've really been like, holy fuck, how could this happen? Like, how could I let this happen? Like, totally blaming myself, totally shitting on myself, and making me insecure because above all of that, like, I am such a giver. And of course, like, I mean, I opened up my apartment to this person. Like, I don't want to keep tabs. I do it again, and I don't care. But like, for that to be received in almost like not a negative way, but like not given the gratitude that it deserves, I feel like it just says a lot. And that like, you can do anything for somebody, but if like their heart isn't open, and I don't want to even say that because I think it's way more complicated than that, but like, you also have to be open to receiving. And in my relationships, that's something that I've realized, is that I'm such a giver because I want to be in control. And I want to let that go. Like, I shouldn't have to feel the need to be in hyper fixation, hyper control with my friends. I should be comfortable. And so I think that's like something else too that I'm realizing. And also, like, mid-20s, like, friendships are difficult. Like, friendships are really hard. And I think too, it's like you're transitioning out of like, I don't even want to categorize it as high school, but like as an adolescent, you're like absorbing your environment, and you're like, oh, this is how I'm praised, or like, this is how I communicate, or like, this is, it's like, so I think when you're in your 20s and you're like kind of out of that, and you can make decisions for your own, and you're really like, there's not really the excuse of like, oh, it's just high school, like, get over it. It's like, no, this is real life. So I feel like there's also that transition of like, what are my choices? What are my boundaries? How do I want to function in my relationships? And it's also scary too that I do have this really giving and maternal and nurturing part of myself, but like, also like, I don't want to full blown say let it go, because I do want to be a giving person, but it can't be the basis of who I am in my relationships. And I think I've even grounded myself in those qualities because they're so immune to me. And I think this situation is making me realize, like, no matter what, like, it's like, I think too, like, it's so funny. I saw this video yesterday and it was talking about this. Like, people think it's like a give and a get. Like, treat people the way you want to be treated. And it's like, okay, well then that's going to be reciprocated to me. And it's not. Like, you have to be comfortable giving what you're giving and not receiving it back. And I think I never really had the expectation of receiving it back, but I think I'm like, oh, I'm doing this, like, you would never treat me this way. Or like, oh, I'm doing this, like, you would never think of me this way because I've shown up for you in this way. And so therefore you never receive me that way. And I'm kind of learning that, like, that's not true. And I think it corresponds with like the information I saw yesterday. Like, it's not just about like being okay with like giving it away, but like, it doesn't like, I think too, it's like I'm realizing like, oh, I was acting this way to like thinking I was protecting myself. But I think if anything in my friendship and just like protecting myself in the friendship and like how good of a quote unquote person I am, in that regard of like, I am really genuine, and I think that's not a norm, and I definitely like choose those values, but I think I just it was like, I don't want to say it was a safety net, but it was just kind of this thing of like, that I'm never going to like do these things to you, and I'm still not, right? But like also like that's not a reason, or like that's not going to get me from being somebody's emotional punching bag, or being the cop out, or being, the cop out, or like the black sheep, like I'm just going to like dump it all here. Sorry, I'm just like having a little bit of light bulb moment, because I realized that something like this happened before when I was in high school, which I'm not going to talk about, but because it's too painful. But yeah, it's just like, and I don't want to say that like, I don't want to like shame myself and say like, oh, I am this person, so I am going to experience those sort of situations. And I think that's partially true, but I also think that I want to be that person, and I think it's just me figuring out like, how do I do that to the point where I'm not drained, or even maybe I don't want to be that person anymore. Like, it's just, I don't know, I just feel like, yeah, I don't want to get that sore end of the stick when shit gets real. And this has just been a really hard journey, because it's like, I want to honor these feelings in this situation. I want to honor myself, because I felt this way not too long ago. And it's just making me realize that like, yeah, no matter what you do for somebody, it's up to them, to the way that they receive it. And I'm even like saying that to myself, because there's a friendship that I have too, where I don't receive any sort of really affection in the way that I receive it. And I almost feel like I've communicated it to them, and there's still sort of like this resistance of like, well, that's not how I show affection. And that situation is just even making me think of this situation that I'm experiencing now, where it's like, I'm almost on the other end of the spectrum, and like, I wouldn't say that. I definitely wouldn't say that. But I also find myself really trying to fix it. And even in the moments where I feel like, oh, I could have done this better, or oh, this could have been better, I still didn't know truly how the other person felt. And so I think for me, I have to like talk about what I need in a friendship, and that's really hard for me. Like, I'm obviously like so ready to talk about what things I need to work on, but the minute when I need to talk about what I need, I shut down. Like, I don't know, I don't want to say like I can't do it, but it's just hard for me. It's hard for me to figure it out. And I think too, like, I know I'm a powerful person. I know I'm smart. I know how to conversate. Like, my Mercury is in my 11th house, and I have a stellium there. Like, all of those spiritual girlies know I'm going to know how to talk to you. But I think I get scared of what the other person's going to say. And I'm scared of the other person's capability, because I think deep down I know it's not okay and it's not enough. And I think that's a really hard pill to swallow. I think in my restorative work and my education is in harm reduction, conflict resolution. Like, I never want to like cut the cord. I don't want to like cut it off, but like, it's just hard, because, I'm kind of bopping back from like two instances, but I feel like they really coincide with one another, because I'm always going to put myself in the other person's shoes. And I think being somebody who's been in both shoes, I'm trying to like trying to meet things with grace, but also hold myself accountable, but also meet myself with grace because I still have needs. And I think I have to tell myself, like, I am a good friend. I am a solid human being. And like, I have to stand true in that. I can't let anybody make me feel that way, even if it's like my longest friend. Like, I have to choose myself there because I know deep down that I am a good friend, and that even if I did hurt somebody, it was not to my awareness. And that, of course, is my responsibility. But at the same time, like, that has to be communicated to me. And if it's not, I can't do anything. And I think I've even had moments where I've had to like remove myself and not talk to friends to figure out what I want to say. And I know that distance is hard. Like, I know that's difficult, and that's me avoiding the conflict. But I also like don't want to say anything I'm going to regret. And I also need to figure out what I'm going to say. And I think I'm also just making this video to like say that like relationships are hard and they take work, not even romantic relationships, but friendships. Building your culture, your community, the people that you want around you, the people that influence you. You are what your community is. And I think I'm just taking that way more seriously right now in my life. And you know, it's just, we're also in a really interesting time in the world, and the way that we socialize, and the internet, and FOMO, and comparing, and all of these things. And I think it's really easy. This is one of those things too, where it's like really easy to be like, well, this person has more, this person has less, and really kind of create that sort of conversation around what I'm talking about. But I think it's really, really important to find the parts of yourself that you're not going to fold over. The parts of yourself that you know are true. The parts of yourself that are so in you, and let them guide you. And staying true to those things, whatever that is for you, might push people away. It might end up having you end friendships. But I think like if there's anything I can give to anybody watching this, I think it's really standing true to yourself, because at the end of the day, like, you have you, and at the end of the day you can go home. I might be a lonely ass motherfucker, but you're with you. Or you can say that you didn't fold on yourself. You can go home and say you didn't fold on you. You know, maybe you don't have as much people on your team, but like you have you, and you stood true to yourself. And I think the gratification in standing true to yourself is the ripple effects of that are really going to benefit you in life than doing it for the bit, or doing it because you're so close to something in life, or doing it because you want to make somebody else happy, or doing it because you don't want to disrupt the peace and you don't want to upset somebody, or you don't want to have a conversation with somebody that you know that they're incapable of. And I've done all those things, guys. I've done all those things that I just named. I've done them. And I'm over it, because I still went in my bed and I still felt like shit. I still self-soothed. I still did what I did to make me feel better, when I could have just stand true to myself and not have had that guilt, because the guilt is for you. It's not for anybody else. And I know relationships are ebbs and flows too. Like, maybe things are rocky right now. Maybe things are sad right now. Maybe things hurt. But it's also not forever. And I trust in the universe. I trust in myself that who's meant for me is going to stay in my life. And you know, some people are here for seasons, some people are here for lifetimes, and everybody has a lesson. And I want to really open myself up to receive what the universe has in store for me, and I don't want to cut it short by making somebody happy who doesn't have the capacity to think about me. And I think my last thing is just be aware of your environment. Be aware of who's rooting for you and who's against you. And I think sometimes the loudest people, the people that are showing up, sometimes are the people that don't have your best interest, because maybe they'll show up to the big events, but like, where are they when you really need them? Or where are they when you say you need to be supported in a friendship and then they don't follow up on what they say they're going to do or try to be better, you know? And that's something that's been a really hard pill to swallow too. And I think people show who they are based on their actions, not on their words. And if people aren't showing up in the way that they say they are, like, they're telling you how they think about you. And really, they're telling you how they think about themselves. And they can only do so much for you as they can do for themselves. That's a really hard truth to swallow. And so I'm going to leave it there. My words of wisdom today, and so much love for everybody, and so much love for everybody who I'm talking about in this video. I'm sure you'll know who you are if you're my friend and watching this. And, you know, even though things are hard, I still love you. And, you know, all the peace in the world forever. So, crossing our fingers, but until next time.